Hi, my name is Eric Mead, Executive Chef at Mount Carmel East Hospital, and today I'm going to be preparing for you a sweet potato and black bean quinoa chili. So the first thing we want to do is we want to take a large saucepan, put that over like a medium heat, and we'll get that heating up. And then we want to go ahead and prep our first three ingredients. So the stars of the show are going to be sweet potato, black beans, and quinoa. But first we have to dice up our sweet potato. So the first thing I'll do is take my peeler and I'll just get this rough skin off. If you're using sweet potatoes, just for ease of use, and it also adds a little bit of nutrients, you can leave this. You can totally leave the skin on. If you'd like, it's really just a personal preference thing. But today we're just going to take it off. So. Okay. And we're just going to do like a medium dice on this. Let me clear my board. All right, since the sweet potato is a little oddly shaped, I'm going to try to cut it directly in half. And a good sharp knife is key here. Sweet potatoes are very dense, and sometimes a dull knife will have a little bit of an issue going through. So now that I have these in half, I'm going to take and I'm going to cut about 1/4 to 1/2 inch slices. Okay. Now I'm just going to give this like a medium dice. All right. Put this in my bowl. We'll do the same thing to the other side. Turn this sideways. Now we can dice. Okay, get that in our bowl. All right, and our recipe is calling for 1 large onion. This is an extremely large onion, probably bigger than you're going to find in your local grocery store. So even though the recipe is calling for 1 large onion, I'm going to use about 75% of this, just so we're not overdoing it. So we'll take our top off. Then what I like to do is cut in half. Leave the root end on. It helps keep the onion together. Okay. Go ahead and peel back some of that outer skin. All right. Now, easy way to dice this is lay it flat, lay the half flat. Then we want to just run our knife down about 80% of the way. Cut it into strips. Very careful with your fingers there. Okay, we're going to turn that sideways. We're going to take our knife and hold it horizontally, and we just want to run the knife almost to the root end. Okay. Be very careful with your fingers, but this just helps give us even cuts. Okay, so now I'm going to the easy part, which is just slicing down, and now we have our dice. Okay, this root end here, we can just turn that to its side and just dice up so we don't have a lot of waste. Okay. Put that with our sweet potatoes. And because that onion was so big, I think that's actually plenty. So now we'll move on to our bell pepper, and we're just going to dice this as well. So when we dice, we just want to take the top off, not too much, and then we want to take the bottom off. Okay, set those to the side. Now we want to core and dice. So to core, I'm just going to run my knife through the flesh. Open it up a little bit. Now I can take my knife, flatten it a little bit, and I just want to run it gently through my pepper just until the ribs and the seeds come right out. Okay? Now we're going to dice, so I'm just going to cut this in strips. Okay. Turn it sideways. And dice up our peppers. We'll add that. Then we don't want to forget about our top and bottom. I'm just going to do the same thing. Give this nice, easy dice. All right. Have all our prep done. Add that to our bowl. So now I have our saucepan here preheating. I'm going to add a couple teaspoons of olive oil. We'll get that going. Now we can saute our vegetables. Okay, so we're going to saute this down for about 4 minutes, and then after 4 minutes have passed, we're going to go ahead and add our spices. So the first thing we want to do, we want to add a couple cloves of garlic. Okay. Some chili powder. A little bit of cayenne. You can use more or less just depending on your heat tolerance. And most important ingredient in chili, I think, cumin. About 3-4 tablespoons of that. Okay. Then we're just going to do a little bit of salt to taste. Just a pinch. All right. Going to mix that in, toast our spices, get our veggies nice and coated. So after about 30 seconds and we get all of our spices stirred in, we're going to go ahead and add about 2.5 cups of water. And we'll add our quinoa. So now that I have my quinoa and my water in here, what we want to do, we want to bring this up to a simmer, put a lid on it, and we just want to let this cook for about 10 or 12 minutes or until our sweet potato gets a little tender. So go ahead and put my lid on. And we'll be back. Okay, so we're ready to lift our lid here and check our progress. So let's go ahead and take this off. Okay, so this is looking good. Go ahead and give this a quick stir. Just make sure nothing's sticking on the bottom. And judging from my sweet potatoes, I think we are ready to add our black beans and tomatoes. So the sweet potatoes, they are starting to get a little bit more tender. So we're in a good spot right now. We don't want them falling apart and creating like a mash inside of our chili. So usually about 10-12 minutes, you should be good to go. So now to finish off our chili, we're going to add a black bean. If you don't like black beans, you can add any kind of bean that you have on hand. You can use great northern beans, kidney beans, which are traditional for chili. But today we're going to go with the black bean. So this is about 2 cans worth. Okay. Then we have some canned diced tomatoes. We'll go ahead and add that. And to finish it off, about the juice from half a lime. Okay. So now the final step is you just want this to bring this up to a boil, then lower it to a simmer. And let this simmer for about 5 minutes and you're ready to serve. All right, so it's been about 5-6 minutes since we added our beans and our tomatoes and lime juice. Let's check our progress. Oh yeah, it looks perfect. So what we're gonna do, we can go ahead and turn our heat off, and we can actually remove this from the heat. And while that's taking off the heat, we're gonna go ahead and just chop up a little garnish. So I have some fresh cilantro here, so I'm just gonna roll my cilantro up. And I'm just going to run my knife through it, nice and easy. All right. Okay. Get our bowl. And our black bean quinoa chili. Scoop of this. If you don't want to use sweet potatoes, you can use any potato you have around the house. Also, butternut squash works really well. But this is a great hearty chili. Also, if you'd like any toppings, you can always use sour cream, Greek yogurt, fresh jalapenos, cilantro like we're going to add here. Or, anything, if you want to add more heat, you can add fresh chilies to that, like jalapenos or Fresno chilies. Or you can just add some more cayenne pepper. If you want it a little less spicy, just add a little less. But here you have it, our black bean, sweet potato, and quinoa chili. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Amy Shea, and I'm nutrition faculty with Mount Carmel College of Nursing. And in this video, we're going to discuss the nutritional aspects of the sweet potato black bean quinoa chili that you just saw prepared by Chef Eric. This chili is so delicious. It's loaded with so many nutritious foods. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorites. I make it all the time. What I wanted to start off with first is talking a little bit about quinoa. So maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. But let's kind of go through some of the aspects of quinoa. So if we look on the slide, you can see what is quinoa. So it's pronounced, as I spelled it out there for you, quinoa. It looks very different than how it's pronounced. I know sometimes people struggle with that pronunciation. But quinoa is actually an edible seed that comes in a lot of different colors. So I have some of those colors in the pictures on the slide. So you could see white quinoa, there's red quinoa. Sometimes when you buy it in the bag, it's sort of a mixture. Multicolored quinoa. They all pretty much taste the same. They're all wonderfully delicious, but just whatever you're making, might call for a different color. And it is considered a whole grain, even though it's a seed, and it's native to South America. So it's been cultivated for actually thousands of years in South America. Quinoa is a good source of manganese, phosphorus, magnesium, folate, and thiamine, very important nutrients in our body. It's also what's called a complete or high quality protein. And what that means is it actually provides all 9 of the essential amino acids that we need from our diet. So that's rare in the plant protein world. Usually we don't have complete proteins from our plants, but quinoa does offer that. So it's a great, awesome source of protein. And in this recipe in particular, we have the quinoa for protein. We also have the black beans. So it's a really great protein option when it comes to a soup. Quinoa is also naturally gluten-free. So for folks who have celiac disease or other gluten sensitivity, this is a safe, easy option as a whole grain. I hope you'll really enjoy this really delicious soup. A couple other points about the soup that I want to make. As always, try to find your lower sodium choices when looking at those canned foods. So we're using canned beans, the black beans. Look for reduced sodium, lower sodium. Make sure you're rinsing the beans with running water until it runs clear, it doesn't look bubbly, and that'll help reduce the sodium content as well. And then also look for those lower sodium options for the canned tomatoes. So any chance you get with those canned foods, choose the reduced or lower sodium option. And one thing I forgot to mention about this soup that I love so much is it's super loaded with fiber. So a serving of this soup is over 20 grams of fiber, which is almost as much as you need for the whole day. So it's a really great option. And feel free to add additional sweet potatoes. The recipe only lists 1, but I say add a couple more. You could even add different squashes, anything you like to give this soup the beautiful color and delicious flavor that it offers. So I hope you enjoy the sweet potato black bean quinoa chili.